Celebrity endorsement, and then there's the celebrity endorsement, the holy grail, the big kahuna, the one you can practically feel on the Richter scale. And right about now, Stacey Abrams, the Democrat running for governor in Georgia, probably feels like she won the surrogate lottery. Oprah Winfrey is hitting the stump for Abrams, who would be the first black woman governor in the United States if elected. She and her opponent, the state's current Secretary of State, Brian Kemp, have been locked in a neck-and-neck race for months. But today, for the very first time since July, Abrams has the slight edge. Joining us now is Washington Post national political reporter and moderator of Washington Week, Robert Costa. Robert Costa, what's going on in Georgia?
You have a very tight gubernatorial race. Of voter suppression as an issue is really at the fore of that state debate between Ms. Abrams and the Secretary of State, Kemp. You have the whole race becoming nationalized as well, Nicole. Having Oprah Winfrey go in there, she says she doesn't want to run for president in 2020, but her close friend, Richard Sher, tells me she's definitely keeping an eye on national politics. That could really help get the Democratic coalition to come out in Georgia. Ms. Abrams is trying to get not only the suburban voter, the swing voter, but she's trying to get the Latino voter, the traditional African-American voter, to come out in droves.
Robert Costa, does Oprah's presence on the trail, because she appeals to every group you just listed, does that strike fear in the hearts of Republican operatives and Republicans watching Democrats make serious gains in some of these deeply red states under Donald Trump's presidency?
Republicans are certainly on edge about what's happening in Georgia because Ms. Abrams has taken a really different approach. They usually expect Democrats to take almost a milquetoast approach, appealing to the center of the state in the South. But now if she can really get a different kind of coalition in a place like Georgia, that changes the entire map for 2020. And if Abrams is successful, you're going to have Democrats really thinking about Doug Jones in Alabama, Stacey Abrams in Georgia, maybe even Beto O'Rourke in Texas. Could that paint a new path for the party? Let
me show you Stacey Abrams on The View answering questions about her opponent in what sounds like a new tone. Let's listen.
Leader Abrams, do you think that Kemp's efforts, do you think they're racially motivated?
I don't question his heart. I do question the results. And we know that he has disproportionately purged voters of color, stopped voters of color, arrested voters of color. And that's problematic because regardless of his intent, the result is that racial bias has been injected into our system. And that undermines confidence in our democracy.
Robert Costa, that seems to do just what you described. It's a very blunt message, but she lets him off the hook as a human being, saying, I don't know what's in his heart. This seems to be a very strategic, a very smart, and almost a perfect Democratic candidate for this cycle and this moment.
I've sat down with Ms. Abrams in Atlanta, and she is a tough candidate. She is someone who not only has experience in the state legislature, but she's unafraid of confronting some of these thorny issues like race, takes it head on. And she's raising questions about legitimacy. Even former President Jimmy Carter from Georgia, far into his retirement, very active, of course, President Carter, has issued a statement saying the candidate, Mr. Kemp, should resign as Secretary of State to not have any kind of question hovering over this election next week.
The Oprah effect and the question that Robert Costa just raised about legitimacy. Vox has a report today saying that University of Maryland researchers estimated in a 2008 paper that Winfrey's endorsement of Obama was responsible for 1 million additional votes for him in the primaries. They also found that Winfrey's endorsement increased the overall voter participation rate and the number of contributions Obama received. They found the so-called Oprah effect, the same thing that boosts the sales of books she recommends or products she endorses, also translated into support for Obama and in a significant way.
It's icing on the cake because I think Stacey Abrams has this extraordinary ground game.
Right.
If we look at what she's doing, just before Oprah came into view, Will Ferrell was stumping for her around Georgia, which is a different kind of demographic. And then when we look at early voting, you have close to 944,000 people have already voted in Georgia already, and that's 3 times as many that vote. So it's a significant increase, particularly among young folk and African Americans. So I think her strategy is not just simply to appeal to that suburban white voter, to not appear to deracialize in some ways, to be herself and to build a coalition that reflects the demographic shift that is Georgia.
She also is using celebrities in a smart way. They're not doing big televised national events. She's got them going door to door. This is both. There aren't. We can count on 2 fingers the celebrities that get involved in Republican politics, but Democrats have had to, I think, change the way they use celebrities so they don't look like like elites. They look like people willing to go door to door. And I imagine if Oprah Winfrey knocked on my door, I'd drop my coffee and
Where's my car?
Where's my car?
What gift do I get today?
Yeah.
You know, it's appealing to people at a personal grassroots level, which I think the Democrats have forgotten about doing. I think that was one of the lessons of Hillary Clinton's candidacy, is that the technocrats in the party had gotten control of the process, and they weren't doing good retail politics. And what you're seeing in all these races are really talented retail politicians. Beto O'Rourke, Gilliam in Florida, and Stacey Abrams in Georgia. The other thing I think is, and I hate setting up the sort of point this way, but the upside of the Trump phenomenon is that it's forcing people to sort of strip the Band-Aid off these notions they had about American society around things like race and third-rail issues that you're pointing to.
Right.
And these candidates aren't avoiding them. They're embracing them.
Yeah.
And I actually think that's a healthy thing for American politics.
Stacey Abrams has shown that, and I don't know if it's because she's a woman, it's going to be one of my theories, she can walk and chew gum. She's not running around complaining about Kemp. She's winning. She's ahead in a poll today. And she's making inroads in all the places that Robert Costa talked about.
I actually don't think it's a mistake that these three Democratic superstars are coming from the South, because not only do you have changing demographics, right, which is reflective of the country at large, and certainly, especially Democrats at large, but you also have candidates who know how to talk about race.
Yeah.
And they know how to talk about race to everyone.
In 3 states that are sort of purple.
In 3 states that are sort of purple, and I think that is a roadmap for Democrats at large in the country.
I'll tell you, I spent the last week, not this week, but the previous week, basically with her, and I'll put her in the pantheon of these rising stars.
Yeah.
We didn't play sound from her at the beginning, but Gilliam O'Rourke and Stacey Abrams.
Yep.
She's also incredibly good at what she does. And the thing that she did that I thought beyond, she's doing an incredible job with being really forthright about the voter suppression issues in Georgia without losing what she needs to the balance.
Right.
It's tricky, this balance that she needs to pull off with a lot of suburban business people. She understands that there's the demographics of Georgia are changing economically as much as they are racially. But the thing that she does, the most impressive thing I saw, is that she has all this debt. She's got a lot of debt, and she's in debt to the IRS, and she pays on an installment plan. It is, again, in my career covering politics, someone who owes a lot of money to the IRS. Someone who owes a lot of money, sorry?
Unlike the president.
Well, someone who, this would be, in any standard candidate, you would look at their liabilities being in debt to the IRS to not small dollars, 6 figures, would be considered a huge political liability. She not only has neutralized it, but seeing her campaign in rural Georgia and in what's traditionally was the Black Belt, some of the places where voter turnout is most important, she not only neutralizes it, but she turns it into an asset because she connects with people and says, I've lived the life you've lived.
Yeah.
I've had a brother who's in jail. I've had parents with healthcare struggles. I piled up debt and I've met my responsibilities. I'm not a shirker. I'm not trying to defraud the government. I just need a little time to get this stuff paid off. And you see people on the ground. They think it's great in some ways.
Right, exactly.
How she's handled this particular challenge because it's familiar to so many people.
I'm just
She's a great candidate. Robert Costa, I'm going to give you the last word, and it's about Oprah Winfrey. Donald Trump, I don't want to use the word trigger, but Donald Trump inspired to weigh in when Oprah Winfrey gets in the ring. Are you predicting or expecting some engagement with Oprah tomorrow when she's on the trail for Stacey Abrams?
The president's in a combative mode, and look, he wants to fight on that level. He sees a lot of people out there who have celebrity profiles, whether it's Michael Avenatti or Oprah Winfrey, as possible contenders in this new political age that we live in. And for Democrats, they're still not a front runner. You showed clips of Vice President Biden and others are out on the trail. But because we're talking about Beto O'Rourke and Stacey Abrams as emerging stars, it really underscores how the party doesn't have a clear leader. That's why someone with a celebrity profile could come into the conversation.
Hey there, I'm Chris Hayes from MSNBC. Thanks for watching MSNBC on YouTube. If you want to keep up to date with the videos we're putting out, you can click subscribe just below me or click over on this list to see lots of other great videos.